Alright, so this is the Garage Woodcarver. This is Sophie and Spencer. We're going to be helping them out today. They both have new card scrapers that they've never used before, so we're going to show them how to set them up. So if you haven't sharpened a card scraper before, this could be a good intro for you guys. So anyhow, the first thing you want to do is make sure that this edge is actually flat and square, and usually what I'll do with that is I'll put it in a vise. And I'll take a file and I'll kind of just draw along that edge, keeping it flat. I'm going to do both edges. Got a couple pieces of aluminum angle iron in the vise jaws just to protect the card scraper. And again, I'm doing the same thing with this edge. I'm really just flattening it and making sure it's nice and square. I'll do the same thing with Spencer's. Same deal. So a card scraper is really just like a piece of steel, right? That you actually put a little burr onto, and that burr is actually what cuts into the wood. So it's a pretty simple tool, but it's actually really useful for a lot of different stuff. And you can also, I showed you some of the other ones previously that you can file a little shape on it and make shapes with it. So, all right, so that's pretty good. Take a look at that. And this is yours. So basically, we filed a flat shape or a flat on there, on that edge. And the other thing, so then I'm going to take it over to the stone. And this is just a diamond stone. You can use any kind of stone that you have, but I like this one. It's pretty large and aggressive. So I'm going to take some diamond stones, typically use water. A little water on there. And what I'm going to do is, you can feel I kind of put a little bit of a burr on here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that off. I'm just going to take it on the side. And so what I'm trying to do is make a nice kind of square shape at the end of this, where the metal meets in a nice edge, nice 90-degree edge. Do that side, and I'll flip it around. I'll do the other side too. So when you're done sharpening this card scraper, you're going to wind up with 4 edges, right? That you'll be able to use for scraping. So here, 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 and here. I mean, technically you could do this. You could do the ends too, but it's a little harder to actually flex that. So most of the time I don't use the very end of it. Usually you're just going to be scraping on this side or the other side. All right, Spen, let me take yours. Same deal. Just flatten that, take that burr off a little bit. This one. Pretty good. So you shouldn't feel a burr on the edge of it if you run your thumb this way along it. You feel that? And now we're going to take and take it to the stone on the very edge, and we're just trying to keep that perpendicular to the actual stone itself. So I'm going to go back and forth. And you can use a fine or a coarser stone as you as you choose. If the finer the stone, the kind of the finer the little burr you're going to wind up with at the very end. But this is sufficient for what we're doing here. Basically just cleaning up that edge from the file. Check the edge every once in a while to make sure I got the whole thing. There you go, Soph. And then Spencer, I'm going to do the same thing with yours. So these card scrapers, the steel is not super hard. You should be able to flex it. That's kind of the way it's designed. It's a thin piece of metal. You can flex it and actually use it to scrape a little bit off the wood.
This is malleable.
Yeah, so you can cut it like a chisel blade, right? You wouldn't be able to cut with a file. With this, you can cut with a file. So it's a little softer than your normal like tool. It is tool steel, but it's softer than like a chisel blade or something like that. Alright, so once we're happy with that, we can take another little quick lap on the sides. Again, I'm just making sure that that edge on the end is pretty consistent, flat, and square. So I want to make sure that this is 90 degrees to the face of this, and a nice edge across it. Same with this one. Just hit that face a little bit. Alright. And that's it for the stone for right now. So we're going to take it back to the vise. And I'm just going to put that in the vise. And so the next tool you need for this is, see if I can find it. Oh. So really, this is like a scribe. You don't really, it doesn't really have to be anything in particular, but it should be round, pretty polished, and harder than the actual steel of the card scraper. So any sort of awl or file or whatever, that round file that's been polished. But this is what I'm using for that. So anyhow, I'm gonna take just a drop of oil. This is just a 50-50 mixture of mineral oil and mineral spirits. It's pretty thin oil. Kind of like it because it doesn't, it doesn't smell or anything. Decent. So what we're gonna do, starting out here, so we're gonna dress both of these edges. I got a little bit of oil on here just to kind of lubricate that. And I can just put a drop on my finger and put on the edge here, or put some on the gall itself. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out pretty parallel to the edge, right? And then I'm holding it in both hands, and I'm going to just basically push it down the edge. And I'm going to do it, kind of picking which side I'm doing. I'm doing this left side right now. If you're watching, it'll be your right side. And what I'm doing is first I'm going perpendicular to that, or I'm going like flat on it, and then I'm trying to put a little bit of a cant to it, right? So I'm angling it a little bit. And what that's doing is actually going to force that metal at the very edge. It's going to force it over and kind of make a little hook on the edge. Now, you're not going to be able to see it. You'd be able to see it if you looked, on a microscope, or like maybe a magnifying glass or something like that. But you'll be able to feel it. And basically, that little hook is what's going to do the cutting. So I can feel I've already got one, and it doesn't have to be much of an angle. You can see right here, I'm probably doing like maybe 5 to 10 degrees. Just kind of feel how it goes. Actually gonna add a couple of these in here. Again, just using the aluminum to kind of protect the metal from the vice jaws. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. And again, I'm starting pretty well flat and then kind of working my way over. So it's kind of forcing that edge to curl over. And if you use a smaller diameter, kind of puts a little more force on one point, if you think about it, but it's not that, it doesn't make that much of a difference. The important thing is it's hard and it's smooth, so that it actually glides across the metal. So I'm going to flip it around. I've done both edges on the one side. I'm going to flip it around and then do the same thing on the other side. Put a little drop of oil on it just to lubricate it. Makes it go smoother.
Do you want the wire edge if you're, say, like sharpening a chisel, or with that?
So if you're sharpening a chisel, you get that wire edge, but it's a little different concept. Because here we have a 90 degree, and we're like bending over that 90 degree, right? So to form a little hook. When we have a chisel, we actually have a piece of metal that's coming to a point, and it's getting so thin at that point that it just folds it over, and that's that wire edge. But we'll talk about that in another episode. This, we're just making this little hook. And you can see it wasn't a super long process, you know, from start to finish. And the good thing about it is that eventually when you're using this, that hook will kind of fold back over, but you can kind of redress it several times before you actually have to go back and refile it and take it back to the stone. So here you can feel that. Actually, this one needs a little more. I can just feel that it's not. So I'm gonna increase that angle a little bit. And again, it might take 5, 10 strokes to actually get it where you want it. Check that out and feel the edges.
When it's split, like if you bob it at 2 separate hooks around the edge, would it like split in the middle?
2 separate hooks.
So you're
So there would be like a
rubbing it
divot.
different ways. Would there be like a divot in the middle?
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. But it's got 2 90-degree angles, right, on either side of this, right? If you look at that, so I'm just doing a hook on one side and a hook on the other side. So in the middle, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of round. It doesn't really matter what's going on in the middle. And again, just starting out somewhat flat and then moving a little more angled. The more angled you are, the more kind of aggressive the actual cut is going to be. So you can kind of modify it for whatever you're doing. Like if you're scraping paint or if you're scraping hardwood, it's kind of I use scrapers for a lot of different things. They're great for shaping wood. You can file it smooth and then take the scraper to like kind of clean it up. Saves you having to go through like a bunch of sandpaper.
I didn't know it could be used for taking off paint.
Yep.
I remember it.
Scraper of many uses.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades or something.
All right. So check that out. It's got a little bit of oil in it. You can take this rag and wipe the oil off. And we're gonna just take a piece of scrap wood, take the rice out. It's yours. And so when you hold it, you're kind of holding it with your fingers on the edge of it right here, and you're gonna put a little flex into it if you can. It doesn't have to be much, but so your thumbs are gonna be back here, and you're kind of pushing into the wood. You can pull it towards yourself, but it's more effective if you're pushing it. And again, fingers on either side, thumbs in the center, and then you're pushing, and that's what you kind of should get is a little, it's almost a shaving, and it's really good for figured wood too, because it actually is, it's cutting the wood, and it's, you know, you can take shavings off of it, and it'll cut into the figured wood. It'll cut across the grain, with the grain, however you want to do it. Just the design of it. So you can see that's taking quite a little shaving.
Very thin shaving.
Yep. And again, all the edges have been dressed, so now you can use, so if one edge dulls up, you can just go to another one. And then eventually if they all dull up, what I do is I just take the scraper, put it on the edge of my bench, and again, you can take a little drop of oil, but I'm just gonna come here, I'm gonna flip that wire, that little burr, I'm gonna flip it back to the center, just to make it consistent, and then you can do this by hand as well, you don't need to hold it in a vise. I'm gonna come in like that, and take several strokes. I wanna make sure I get the whole edge of the scraper. I'm gonna flip it back over. So you can do that several times before you actually need to resharpen it. So again, here we go. And you kind of want to set it up so that you're cutting right about here. This one is a little low. I don't want to be cutting right here at that angle. But anyhow, it's not bad. So there you go. That's how to set up a scraper, card scraper, in about 5 minutes. Pretty easy to do. All right, thanks for watching. Boop.